Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back to 365 Days of Love and Miracles with A Course in Miracles. My name is Arlene Geres, and I am so glad that you are here. Please remember to listen right until the very end, because we have a special treat for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, please click like and subscribe down below, because this helps others to find us on YouTube. Today's lesson is lesson number 118. God's peace and joy are mine. Let me be still and listen to the truth. This is our 8th lesson in Review 3. The lessons that we are reviewing are lesson 105, God's peace and joy are mine, and lesson number 106, let me be still and listen to the truth. Let's take a look at lesson 118. We have lots of hummingbird action out here this morning. God's peace and joy are mine. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made for happiness and peace. Let's take a quick look back at lesson 105. God's peace and joy are yours. Today we will accept them, knowing they belong to us, and we will try to understand these gifts increase as we receive them. Let's talk about this. We already have God's peace and joy. It is our birthright. Being part of God, we have everything that belongs to God. We have the attributes of God. The trick is to open our hearts to actually receive these gifts. It's a bit like going to a banquet and having all of this bounty laid out before us and only sitting there and nibbling on a cracker. I want the whole meal deal. How about you? If you have any resistance to this idea, you might want to journal on it. What are your blocks? Why would you not want God's peace and joy? God doesn't leave anyone out of his plan. Every single person has already been given this, but we distract ourselves with the things of the world. We get busy with work, with trying to make money, with trying to have some power and prestige in the world. Perhaps we get distracted by collecting things, buying things. There are so many ways that we can distract ourselves. What are your distractions? What is keeping you from fully embracing and accepting that God's peace and joy is yours? A major learning goal this course has set is to reverse your view of giving so you can receive. For giving has become a source of fear, and so you would avoid the only means by which you can receive. Accept God's peace and joy, and you will learn a different way of looking at a gift. God's gifts will never lessen when they are given away. Are you able to give God's peace and joy away? In order to do that, we have to first have it inside of ourselves. And when we do, we just naturally exude peace and joy. Things don't rattle us. It doesn't really matter what's going on out there in the world. We are centered in God's love, and that's what we give to others. If we get all wrapped up in our problems and our worries and all the anxieties of the world, that's what we give away. I want to give away God's love, God's peace, God's joy. What do you want to give away? I love this next part. As heaven's peace and joy intensify when you accept them as God's gifts to you, so does the joy of your Creator grow when you accept his joy and peace as yours. True giving is creation. It extends the limitless to the unlimited, eternity to timelessness, and love unto itself. As I accept God's peace and love and joy, then God's love and peace and joy also grows. It's a win-win deal. I love that idea. I feel so firmly connected to my Creator that we are feeding each other. It's a mutual win. Let's go back to lesson 118. If you would like to close your eyes, I'll say the prayer. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made for happiness and peace. Let's unpack this. What are the substitutes that you have made for happiness and peace? We did talk quite a bit about forgiveness when we first introduced lesson 105. Are you willing to give forgiveness in exchange for peace and joy? Are you willing to give away the frantic busyness of the world in exchange for God's peace and joy? Are you willing to exchange your ego self for God's peace and joy? Think about it. Ask yourself these questions honestly. If you're not really there, that's okay. We have 365 days to review these ideas over and over and over again. Hopefully you will want to continue this work for a lifetime and beyond. Let's take a look at lesson 106. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself assure me that I am God's perfect son. I am God's perfect child. I am God's perfect daughter. Let's take a peek back at lesson 106. Today, the promise of God's word is kept. Hear and be silent. He would speak to you. He comes with miracles 1,000 times as happy and wonderful as those you ever dreamed or wished for in your dreams. His miracles are true. Go past all things which do not speak of him who holds your happiness within his hand, held out to you in welcome and in love. Hear only him today, and do not wait to reach him longer. Hear one voice today. Let's talk about it. The things of this world are temporary. They are going to pass away. Nothing in this world lasts forever. We may get momentary glimpses of happiness when we get that new car, or we buy that new piece of clothing, or we eat that yummy cheesecake. But that kind of happiness does not last. It fades away very quickly. The happiness of God, on the other hand, lasts forever. Not only that, it continues to grow. It continues to multiply. The joy that God holds out for us is the most beautiful thing that we can encounter. That's what we want to chase after. Let go of all of those things of the world. It doesn't mean that we don't still enjoy and appreciate nice things in this world, but we cannot make those our primary purpose for living. We can't even make another person our primary focus. Even that will not give us full and complete happiness. All people are fallible. I certainly am. And I would be willing to bet that you are also. So let's not hold any one person to be responsible for our happiness. Happiness comes when we allow these messages to sink deep within our heart. God's miracles are true. They are 1,000 times as happy and as wonderful as those you ever dreamed or wished for in your dreams. God's miracles are true. The miracle is our shift from fear to love. It is us consciously choosing to think with the mind of God, to see with the eyes of God, to speak with the words of God, to hear God's word always in our ear, and most importantly, to love with God's heart. I encourage you to do that today. Let's go back to lesson 118. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself assure me that I am God's perfect son. Let's unpack this part. My feeble voice is the voice of the ego. We can feel that when we're in ego, we know that we have to be very, very careful of being hurt or being squashed like a bug. But God is mighty and strong, so let that feeble voice be still. We want it to be quiet. And let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself. We do this through taking the time to just stop, just notice, maybe sit in meditation, ponder today's lesson, let it sink into our spirit, and by being consistent with our practice, let God's mighty voice assure you and assure me that we are his beloved children. We belong in the kingdom. The kingdom is right here, right now. Let's embrace it, let's accept it, and let's enjoy it, and let's share it. Let's take a look at paragraph 8 of review 3. This is the final paragraph in the review. Do not forget how little you have learned. Do not forget how much you can learn now. Do not forget your Father's need of you. As you review these thoughts He gave to you, let's talk about it. We have been asked to do some very specific things in our practice periods. Lesson 105 in the morning and on the hour, and lesson 106 just before going to sleep and on the half hour. We are encouraged to sit in silence and be at peace. Allow these to sink into our heart. Let's go back to the second part of lesson 118. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let my own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice for truth itself. Assure me that I am God's perfect child. I encourage you to try to be still as much as you can today, to listen for the truth, to hear God's mighty voice assuring you that you are loved. You are love itself. Can you just embrace that and let yourself be joy and peace and love out there in the world with everyone that you meet and everyone that you think of today? Thanks so much for listening right until the end, my friends. If you enjoyed today's video, please share the love. Tell others about these videos. Encourage them to start at lesson 1 and only do one lesson a day. Are you ready for our special treat? And the birds are waking up too. Good morning, world. Look at them. Oh my gosh. God's gift to us. Look at them go. Amazing. God's peace and joy are mine. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Oh my gosh, friends. I hope your day is just full of God's peace and joy. Be sure to take the time to be still and listen to God's truth today, my friends. I love you.